I'll tell you what this WordPress podcast industry needs. It needs some more unfiltered takes. Mark Szymanski, welcome back.
Great to be back, Matt. Thank you for having me.
We got a lot to talk about today. I am crawling out of a 5-day hole of being sick, literally lying on the ground, not knowing what kind of virus I had, negative for COVID, flu, and pneumonia. But happy to have some brain cells, the few brain cells that I do have to commit to the show. They're back. They're rattling around up there. We're going to put them together, rub them together, see if we can spark some energy. As always, again, Mark Szymanski. Lots of topics. Let's talk about this problem with WordPress podcast. We don't have to name names, but dear God, I want to.
You actually have to. Name the names.
Name the names, I know. So Influence WP said that there was a problem with WordPress podcasts, and this is something that I see as people enter and exit the space over the years. Been here for a while. I've seen a lot of people come in. I've seen a lot of people go. I've seen a lot of people stay, which is fantastic. And quite often, when people come into the WordPress space, they discover podcasts. They might not be podcast listeners before. In fact, I mean, a lot of the folks that I talk to that listen to my show coming into the WordPress space will often say, I've never listened to a podcast until I came into WordPress, which is fantastic. There's a lot of WordPress podcasts, also fantastic. And I try to lead with empathy. As you know, it's one of my core driving factors of everything that I do. When somebody says the WordPress podcast landscape needs more of this or needs less of that, and they sort of like they get on Twitter like many of us do, myself included, and we just like stand on stage and we go, oh, and we need this, we need that. I try to understand this is simply somebody requesting what they're looking for instead of like criticizing us as a whole. Because I'll tell you, this ain't for the faint of the heart, running a WordPress podcast, right? You're not getting the best seat at the table when you go anywhere, including a WordCamp, FYI. So you're not getting any tickets to a ball game. You're not getting the best steakhouse seat at the lounge, and you're not getting a free pass to WordCamp. So it's a labor of love. And I really appreciate anyone who picks up a microphone, turns on a camera, and starts talking about their thing of WordPress. Fantastic. It's, in fact, the essence of WordPress. Pick it up, publish, ship, continue. But when somebody just comes in, like puts his hand across the poker table and tries scrabbing all the chips and saying like, oh, there's a big problem here. There's not enough unfiltered talk and sponsored stuff. And then I see other people saying like, oh yeah, my podcast isn't sponsored. Who gives a shit about sponsorship, right? That people are trying to live. And I'll try to land this plane that I appreciate everyone's take in the WordPress space. The WordPress space, podcast space, or content space is largely driven by developers or development or how to do something with WordPress. Few people really care about the inner workings of WordPress, what the community's up to, what events are happening, future forecasting, like where WordPress is going, which is where I kind of sit with my commentary. And I don't find that to be a problem. People throw around this this thing like, well, we should be doing journalistic takedowns of Mullenweg, going into his bank accounts, finding out where he's funneling all that money. Because he's rich, you know. Who gives a shit? And by the way, what's up with everybody thinking they're Tucker Carlson? Right? Like suddenly everyone just has a bankroll of money where they think that you just take on these brands and you do deep dives and deconstruct their business. What do you want out of people who volunteer? And then when I broaden that lens, I go, this is the problem. This is the problem of why people don't appreciate a lot of what's happening in WordPress. They don't appreciate that a lot of people roll up their sleeves and just do this stuff because they want to see WordPress succeed and they love WordPress and they're just like, I enjoy this stuff. So when people are like, well, this person's sponsored, or, these people aren't like asking the questions, they're just having their friends on the show. Make your own podcast. Dive in. There's a zillion of us doing this stuff. Is it competitive? Yes. Is it fun? Yeah. It can feel like work if you're turning it into work like I do. I don't think there's a problem with the podcast landscape in terms of topics and how the established shows have been running, and who they talk to. It's all their lane, if you will. The problem is when people bitch and moan and do nothing and provide no blueprint on how they're going to solve it, or even how people can remedy it, or even give feedback to podcasters. It's just friends of the show. Who? I won't say. Which podcast? I'm not going to say. Well, then you're just throwing stuff out into the ether. To that is when I start to realize maybe I should just ignore them to begin with. Any thoughts on problems of the WordPress podcasting landscape? I mean, you're a part of it. If you don't realize it.
So this is the second or third time that we've seen these types of things, whether it's through videos, like kind of like Imran was suggesting a little bit, a couple weeks back, Ryan's suggesting it through the X post today. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I feel like empathy is normally the best strategy. Sometimes it's easy to get kind of like triggered and angry. But you got to be careful there, because you don't want to like ever assume things, assume how, especially when you don't have like all the details. You can't really assume. You kind of want to just be empathetic and ask questions. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating when there's no specifics necessarily given, at least at the beginning. So that's kind of difficult. But I'm with you in the sense of there's a lot of people out here. Like, there is no like weird, as far as I understand, like especially in the WordPress space, there's no weird like conglomerate of people like doing weird shit in the podcasting space. It's like, yeah, a lot of people that here's what happens. If you make content and you put your face in front of a camera and you're in a niche, I'm literally the example of this. 2 years ago, I started doing that. You will get a Matt Medeiros like, hey, you want to come fucking on my show? Like, there's not that many people, you know what I mean? there's not that many people doing this in this space. So you quickly become, whatever word you want to use, the click word, or like just niche content creators. It quickly happens because there's not too many people. And if you pop up on somebody's feed, then you will probably get asked to like have a conversation. If you're genuine and if you just want to have chats or educate people or whatever. So there's a lot of really good people there, but if you zoom out, there's not a ton. So that's why it seems like very tight in that regard. Then the other thing is like, yeah, when I see something like that says like, hey, it's just like people parading their friends onto their podcast episodes, like I think there's three options. Either one, I'm not watching the same podcasts because I don't see that much at like that large of a level where I would, agree with that sentiment. The second option is it's actually not really that bad, and it's more of a personal perception thing rather than like, something that the masses would see. Maybe it's like a specific lived experience or lived perception thing that one would have when they're commenting on that. Or three, I'm actually completely part of the problem and I'm completely blind to it. I don't think it's three, because I feel like, especially me, I'm pretty. The worst thing you could say about me is that you don't know what the fuck I'm going to say next because I talk about too many different things. So yeah, but that's how I react to those things, and yeah, I just don't really know exactly what. Can't really tell from people that are saying that exactly what they want to see or what their goal is. And the only other thing I'll comment on here is, until you have tried to create a living off of content in a niche space like WordPress, which I'm not telling you, Matt, anything you don't know, and I barely know it because I've only been here for a little bit, but I do feel it already. It's not impossible, but is extremely difficult. Like the amount of time and energy that you have to put in to make content consistently about all of the different topics or tutorials or whatever, it's a lot of work. And you cannot, there's like, think about you have to think about the economics of this. There's actually not enough people, I don't believe, to make a living off of just viewership. Like, I don't think that you could ever get to a Marquez Brownlee level in like this niche. And, you know, so you're not going to make your monthly nut or whatever off of just AdSense, of just people watching ads through YouTube. So you have to supplement that with sponsorship or membership or something else. Now we can have a long conversation about all that, but at the high level is that you can't be mad about sponsorships. Everyone is doing that. And the only way you get mad about that is if, like, there's a fine line, but if people are like completely shilling shit, then maybe, okay? But I don't really see that. And if I could see some examples, I could give more direct feedback to that. But you know, I don't know what to say. It's kind of a lot of, like, I feel like there's a lot of feedback being given without exactly feeling, you know, with preconceived notions a little bit, and maybe some level of just not understanding like all of the details. You know what I mean? I feel like if we just all had conversations about these things, then we would all be in much closer alignment. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the, you know, earning a living and sponsorship stuff. And I want to tie two things together because, and I promise we'll move on from this topic and move on to some other stuff that's come up. But like when I look at the angle that Imran has come from, and again, I watched him on Remkes's podcast, and I'm still pulling my hair out to like understand his perspective. But and I look at what Ryan, you know, said. So Toby, who creates podcasts for the WP Minute, had like chimed into Ryan's thread and said something like, whatever. Yeah, I you know, ask the questions and we'll answer the questions on our podcast. You know, and Ryan decided to be like, oh, the WP Minute supports these other creators, WP founders, and they have affiliate links, or they're doing affiliate links wrong on their site or whatever. Why is the WP Minute, you know, doing that? You know, and then I look at Imran's take from, you know, a month ago or so ago, is just like small time creators never help each other, or big creators never help the small creators, or however he put it. It's like, I don't know what to say. Like, I saw the WP founders, I saw their work. They were interviewing people consistently. They knocked on my door and they said, hey, could you sponsor us? I said, sure. And I sponsored them. I'm a small creator compared to all these other people that are out there, but I take my hard-earned money and give it to, and they're not the only ones. I've sponsored other smaller creators as well. So this is just the internet. Like, I understand this, people. If you're at home watching this going, well, this is what the internet, I understand. Like, I dig my own ditches with this stuff. But it's just like one part of the community going, ain't nobody supporting anybody around here. The other side of the community going, look at who these people are supporting around here. Mm-hmm. Like, where do you want me to go? Okay. And that's why I largely don't care, but I'm happy to call somebody out on it. And especially when they want to like poke the bear and say things like, look what the WP Minute's, look what the WP Minute's doing. Look around you. If you think I'm the bad guy, we've got issues. We've got real deep rooted issues with your beliefs. Yeah, and you know, and it's tough to be a content creator. We've talked about that a gazillion times. And in WordPress, I've said this a gazillion times, 10,000 people max for the type of content that at least I put out. I won't throw you into that same bucket, but even this conversation, 10,000 people across the world max care about what we're saying right now. And that's that. Anything else you want to say before we move on to the next subject?
I think I'm pretty good.
Why does WordPress marketing suck?
Jesus Christ. It's not sexy at a holistic level. Yeah, I would say that's currently my take on it. I don't know if you want to tee it up further, but
so there's been a debate about WordPress. Again, the more things change, the more things stay the same. This is not the first time we've heard about this, and it keeps coming up. I think maybe the essence of it was sparked, and I'm done doing like all the screen sharings with this stuff because I don't want to break the recording and pulling up articles. But Mullenweg retweeted an article from somebody who said that WordPress needed better marketing, essentially, which then sent Yoast to say something like, does WordPress need marketing and product, right? I clipped our conversation from almost a month ago where I said, after Matt Mullenweg's on-stage appearance at WordCamp US, that we need somebody who loves WordPress and loves the idea of building that for us. So it's swirling around. There's a lot of debate happening. If you search on Twitter, you'll find it. I don't need to show anything. But this is the age-old question. And what I don't like, and Yost has done this multiple times, when he puts out a blog post and we're just stating the obvious with no clear direction on how he thinks that should be deployed. I read his article and I was just like, you never answered if we even need it. Like, is that like the tongue in cheek of the article? The question in the article was, do we need product manager, marketing and product managers for WordPress? And the article, at least in my low-level reading abilities, didn't really answer it. So I looked at that going, well, yeah, of course we do. That's the title. Yes, the answer is yes. But you didn't show us how we need to get there. And I am sick of hearing about things we have to do, but without zero either guidance, theory crafting, how we might get there. Here's a couple ingredients of how we might go about it. Now, Yost has been in the thick of things for decades at this point, where he has, tried to provide those solutions or whatever. So I get it, but I am critical of him because, again, he's a big voice in the space. But I did reply to him on Twitter. It might have been in another thread with somebody else, and I just said, "What if the product team was from Automatic?" And again, paraphrasing here, he just replied with, then it wouldn't be open source, it would be closed source. I go back to the keys of the kingdom, where all truth is rooted in. When people say we need a marketing team, that is going to be, unless I am proven wrong, that is a claim for like ownership again. Like, oh, WordPress.org needs a marketing team so we can do this thing, and we have to do it. I saw Mike McAllister say, like, oh, I'd design a homepage, or I don't know what it was. Maybe it wasn't for that.
I saw that.
I just saw the people jumping in, like, oh, yeah, I would commit to that. No. See, when it's done on WordPress.org, this is a claim for ownership again, and it's just not going to happen. Please, for the love of God, relinquish yourself from thinking we will have a marketing team that's going to be able to do anything impactful at that layer, right? Oh, we're here at WordPress.org. All right, Google Analytics, where are they? Not going to get it. Search stats on WordPress.org so we know what people are looking for on the site so we can make better content. Not going to get it. Can we get into that product meeting with those people over there before they ship that thing that's going to go into WordPress core? Not going to happen. It's just not going to operate like everyone thinks. I saw them going back and forth with Rich Tabor before we got on the show. And I saw Jono. I love Jono. Been on the podcast before. I want to have him back. And he was just like, not how markets work. Not like just shutting down Rich and Yost is shutting down Rich. Guys, it's just not going to work. Please. What will work is somebody to say, I'm going to run my own marketing initiative for WordPress. It's going to be painful. Yes. This is the
frozen, my boy.
Badge I said on the episode last time that I'm going to wear for the WP Minute. What I am doing unequivocally and unapologetically is supporting WordPress and helping people uncover the good of WordPress. I'm not going to bitch and moan about Gutenberg and the site editor. I am going to show you how you can use WordPress in your business, how people are doing it, how people are making money. That's what a lot of the courses and stuff that we're building for the WP Minute is going to provide. And I'm not going to listen to people going, all you do is support and Matt Mullenweg, he's rich. mothership, blah, 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 blah. I
Double
don't care.
check, but I'm pretty sure
Because
I'm fine.
WordPress needs to win in order for us all to win.
I'm good, man.
And if you want to try to fight and
I'm
claw and
good.
get
You're not
into
good.
a
I'm
.org
good.
scenario again where you're trying to have an
Buddy,
official marketing
what
team,
happened to
just
you?
end it. I'm not here for that fight anymore because you're just never going to win.
It's not
Unless
good. I can't
something
remember what he
happens
was
at the top.
saying
It's not gonna happen.
either.
What else do I have to say about that? Let me check my notes.
Call for action.
It's only going to happen from us. Rich says this in his tweet.
Dude is
John
just
said that's not how markets work, where he says like, oh, the best
Dude
marketing for
is
WordPress comes
just
from us, from the users.
ripped.
People use it. Great product. Once a great product is made, people share it. Yada yada yada. Yes, Jono says that's not how markets work. That's not how traditional markets work. I get it. Yost is saying we've got steep competition with closed source competitors and AI and all this stuff. Yes, absolutely agree. Once again, when you're trying to do a marketing thing at the core of WordPress, you're trying to claim ownership, and ownership is not going to happen. So therefore, start another thing under the FAIR program or whatever initiative and have a whole marketing angle there. Get a consortium of agencies, which I think exist, which come together and talk about the enterprise WordPress. Get a dozen content creators who want to do something together and run with a campaign. I don't know, but I know what I'm doing at the WP Minute, and that's all I can do, because we're not going to get that ownership. And I'm done talking about that. What do you think? You're not even here. I just ranted for so long, and you're not even here. All right, we're back. So quickly to wrap it up. Yes, I to me, when I hear the conversation of we need marketing, we need product, when I hear that in the general zeitgeist of the community, I just hear people wanting like to try to have that conversation of ownership again, and that's something that I'm just I don't want to have that battle anymore. I don't have time for it. I don't think WordPress has time for it. And when I said that the message, what if Automatic was the product company, and we helped with that product? Am I giving concession? Yes, because I think what we found is Automatic needs to survive and needs to push WordPress forward. What WordPress doesn't have time for, and maybe this is a better, more concise thought, is what WordPress doesn't have time for is a community effort. Because let's all be honest, community effort, like an official community effort, like a make marketing team. What we don't have time for is that slow moving, lethargic process. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to do the notes. We're going to, this person didn't get the meeting. Okay, well, we move that meeting to the next month. And then we're going to go to another month for all these other decisions. All these stakeholders in. WordPress can't afford that. Like, we can't afford to want to have that again. WordPress needs, and this is sort of my point about sending that message, what if Automatic was the product team? Is because we need somebody accountable who's getting paid a salary. And it's not going to happen at the open source layer. I'm sorry. Unless somebody can prove me wrong. We're going to have to play nice with Automatic. And you're going to have somebody at Automatic. This is my request. Somebody at Automatic has to own that. And it can't be Matt. So somebody has to love this shit, lead it, make decisions, and move forward. That person has to be held accountable. That person has to be compensated. And that person has to be evaluated based on those goals of like, is this a cool product? Do people want to use WordPress again? We don't have time for slow rolling nay. Mark Szymanski? Mark Szymanski. Oh, he's not here. He missed the meeting. Okay, I'll put him down for the next thing. We're done with that. When Yo says it's not open anymore, like if Automatic did it, it's not an open source. Is it not? Is it not? Is not the essence of the code open? Is the code open source? Yes. If somebody else is developing it and they're open sourcing it, aren't we getting the value of the open source to which then we can go do what we want with? I get the community side. For the love of God, I get it. But how much do people want to control this thing? Let Automatic run it, let them improve it, and then we take the open source side of it and do what we need to do to run our businesses, build the community, build our products on top of it. Can there be some level of just freaking hand-holding across both aisles? Mark Szymanski.
Yeah, I can't tell if this is similar or dissimilar to what you've always been saying. I feel like it's kind of an evolution.
It is an evolution. You're absolutely right. It's an evolution. Because I am running out of patience. And I think WordPress is running out of time.
Would you take the job if they hired you?
And one more. And I actually like what I see coming out of the Telex project. I actually look at that and I go, pretty freaking cool. I like this. I want to see this work. And then I go, okay. A little bit of, they're getting their shit together a little bit. Remember my prediction post at the start of the year was they got to cut the fat. They got to focus on the WordPress product. I also said Studio, and they're bringing that together with Blueprints. That's a sleeper.
This guy knows everything before it happens. Would you take the job if they offered you to be the chief marketing person?
No. I love my role at Rocket Genius.
All right. That was a very political answer. I think that I'll say something wacky. I think that WordPress is like, it would die long term if we don't do something kind of a little bit like that. I've never heard you put it exactly like that before, with like how slow, we don't have time for the slow moving marketing way of like potentially like almost like marketing by committee or whatever. I would agree with that. I think that the real situation here, like you zoom out and you look at the last 20 years, is that the landscape is just so obnoxiously different now. The world, the digital world, everything has changed. And I think we all kind of know this if you pay attention, but I think sometimes we don't like actually, we're afraid to admit it, is like, those other things aren't going to like kill WordPress necessarily. Like, one, I don't know, whatever the saying is, like, it's going to die by like, it would die by like 1,000 cuts or something, like long term, or would just continuously, decline. And the reason would be is because it could be so much more if we just like marketed it in a more interesting way. What Rich said was kind of interesting. It was like, it was almost like total anti-marketing in a way. It was like the way that we, if I interpreted it correctly, in his one post where he quoted Yoast, was basically like the way we market it is just it being really good, which, okay, that's an approach, but that doesn't make any sense, because in today's world, these younger, especially the younger people, because I just talked to Andy Milligan on a podcast, and we're going to do a live stream coming up. I don't know when this is coming out, but this episode's coming out, but we're gonna do a live stream here. He uses Webflow, and he showed me Webflow. I'm like, okay, there's some cool things about that. I'm not picking on Andy, but he, as an example, doesn't even understand what WordPress like can do. He thinks that you have to be a developer to be in WordPress. There's just so much ignorance. And again, it's not ignorance in the sense of, like being rude or anything. It's like, it's just that people just don't know about it anymore. Like there's just so many other things that when you think of building a website, if you had no idea, we are such in an echo chamber of this WordPress. Like we talk about these fucking echo chambers, these microscopic echo chambers within WordPress. Newsflash, buddy, we're all in a fucking echo chamber within 100%. WordPress. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and we think that the random, young kid or layperson coming out of college or whatever, we think that they're gonna just know WordPress. The only reason I'm here is because my colleague at the time told me about WordPress. If I would have searched for like how to build a website, maybe I find WordPress, but maybe I find Webflow, and maybe we're not even having this discussion. So it's like the fact that we think in today's world with the competition and the way the world is going in general, that people are just going to stumble upon WordPress because it's the best, which is, it's debatable because the best is different for every person. you know what that means? Like that's kind of crazy. Like that's not what I would think somebody that wants to drive, not, and again, not picking on Rich, I'm just saying in general, like that's not how I would drive a product. You have to, as exhausting it is as it is, you have to shove your product or your project down everyone's fucking throat 24/7. And it has to be good. That's the only way you market nowadays. There's too much fucking noise. Like, so there has to be something there. It can't just be nothing. And you bring up a good point about, getting Automatic in the mix, because they do have WordPress.com, which thrives off of at least some level of the open source project, or, or it goes, I don't know which way it goes, but there's obviously a mutual benefit there.
I just look, maybe I'm jaded. Maybe it's because I've been having this debate so many times that I just run myself like full circle. And I don't have any kind of like biblical crusade against Mullenweg or Automatic. Did I agree with what happened? Absolutely not. Do I think he's still trying to spin it in a positive way for his own benefit? Yes. Am I happy about that? No. What can I do? Nothing. So, I am still benefiting. Like when I see open source, I still benefit from WordPress. Those benefits have not stopped, right? So whether they have their own marketing team doing their own thing, or our marketing team doing the community's marketing thing doing their own thing, it doesn't matter. I'm still benefiting from the fact that WordPress is open source, and not just, at all aspects, with Gravity Forms, where I host my website, how I do the podcast, all this stuff. There's this constant flow of benefiting. And at some point I just go, hey guys, are we all just jockeying for, position here? Like, do you all just want, your claim of ownership, and you're just trying to push Matt out? Because when I look at the world of technology that runs my life, there's a lot of other executives at companies I would love to oust that I cannot. And at Automatic, there's one. At freaking, I don't know, Comcast that I pay every month, there's probably 50 that I'd love to see on the street, but I can't do anything about it. It's my technology stack of how I connect to the internet and live my life. I'd love to change that, and I can't. Can you all just deal with how Mullenweg's running this for 2 goddamn years as the ship tries to turn around in the face of the AI cannon looking at us? Can you wait 2 years? Here's the next topic. Getting traffic to your website. That's the other thing I want to talk about today. We've started to talk about that. Rand Fishkin, I'll try to put this in the show notes if I can remember, but search for Rand Fishkin on YouTube. You'll find it probably in the most recent talk that he did, or check out his Mastodon or Blue Sky. I don't think he's on Twitter anymore. Rand Fishkin, famously from Moz many years ago. I literally my business grew up with him teaching me SEO and ranking, and using his tool Moz when it was like the most popular thing to use for data back in the day. He now has SparkToro, which I was always kind of on the fence with, but he's seemingly doing well with it. He showed up on stage to talk about getting traffic to your website, and literally what you just said, Mark, and that's how you can sum up the 30-minute video, really, is like getting traffic today is nearly impossible. Like the idea of, blogging and organic just isn't the magic bullet anymore. It's still very important, of course. It's like all things are important now, at all levels, depending on what your goals are. And the way that I saw it, and I broke it down in the WP Minute, so let me just pull up the Slack channel, because that was a pretty good breakdown, if I do say so myself, on how I saw this. But the one thing that stood out to me, which is funny because I follow the podcasting space so closely, and radio is always obviously radio is big for podcasting, like the radio industry, and how radio has been impacted by podcasting, of course, everything else. But marketers for years have been chasing this thing called attribution. Forget about that. Like, I think most senior marketers have forgot about that for like the last at least 5 years. And he said, like, now we have to approach digital in that billboard fashion. Well, how many impressions did you get? Who the hell knows? We think 500,000 cars drive by here every day. Well, how many people saw it? I couldn't tell you, but I could tell you that there's 200,000 wheels going by every afternoon, and hopefully somebody glanced over, saw its brand lift. This is where we're headed. I see this with sponsorship of the WP Minute. I see it with our own content. I see it with our own numbers. And Mark, you were talking about this too. In my opinion, now more than ever, yes, you still have the website. WordPress still important. The website is the functioning heartbeat of how the business operates, whether that's you get them there to the call to action, you get them there to buy the thing, or you get them there into your community or whatever that might be. So the website is still very important. But I think now people just have to double down on the social network that works for them, because this content is just coming in silos and people don't have the attention span to follow you across all these other platforms that you're going to like, hey, go to listen to my podcast and subscribe to my YouTube channel, jump on the newsletter. No, now you just have to look at them in boxes and hope that one of these things is performing well enough to continue doing. What are your thoughts on getting traction or traffic these days?
I think there's a couple things. I mean, the one thing that comes to mind when you just said that, though, is like I still believe, but again, I believe we are heavily biased, that our websites are like our heartbeat of our websites, like the hub of your business. I think most marketers and people would say the answer is yes to that. However, I do just want to point out, slightly, it's on topic, but slightly against it, is there are, because I've done a video about this, I believe, there are a ton of YouTubers and there's a ton of creators and brand business owners like that literally don't have shit on their website. Like their website is not, it's not a lead gen. It's not a, I mean, again, I bring it up because it's all like Marquez Brownlee. He has like some fucking merch on his website. Like that's it. Like there's nothing crazy going on there. He's not using it as like a funnel. He's not using it to even provide any data. And he's just one example. Like these people, there's so many people nowadays that are not reliant on a website. They're reliant on the digital highways that are social media. And they are just constantly either, again, posting value on YouTube or X or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, TikTok. And that is just something really important to understand when we are blinded by this concept of being in the WordPress and website building space, because we have to understand that it is important, but it is actually possible to have a business and make money without all that. All that should tell you is that it's important. Like that part of it is important, because people are literally building businesses without that. Because like, again, there's this other sentiment that people are not going to websites as much anymore, which is kind of true. Like they're getting the information from these social platforms that they're just sitting and scrolling on and whatever. And then obviously you could kick them to your website if your funnel is good and whatever. One other point here is, like, we were talking a little bit about data. I didn't finish the whole Rand video, but I feel like he was talking a little bit about that. I saw he was talking about, like, something as simple as, like, if you put a link in your Facebook post, you get way less reach. So, like, there's a bunch of little tips like that. But you are at the mercy, unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the algorithms now. You have to play the game as much as you can, because you don't have an option. So you got to play the game, and then hopefully you can kind of like slightly beat the game or leverage it up, And I was watching, I was scrolling yesterday, and I found this guy on Instagram called Gannon Meyer, and he's basically the data marketing guy for mainly creators. So he'll like analyze creators and see, like, okay, what's their business actually look like? He looked at like Ali Abdaal and so many others, and he's like looking at the lead flow and like how their business model is. And I won't go all the way into it because it's not incredibly pertinent, but it doesn't matter if you're a creator or a brand. We're at the point now where you have to double down on like the data of your audience, and you have to be really good with it. You can't even, and I'm not saying I'm good at this, because I don't have this set up, but you can't just get email and phone anymore, because that's or email and name. That's not enough. Like, you have to actually understand and start segmenting your audience. And that's where the power that, like, you and I and all the people in our circles we have, but until we understand how to actually market now in this era, like we're not really leveraging. Like we have all the tools, like all the technical tools, the capabilities, but unless we, kind of take Rand's advice and other people, like we're not actually we're gonna lose, because these other kids that are coming up and just posting a bunch of shit on TikTok and stuff, they don't know the first thing about marketing, but they know about like getting attention and posting.
Yeah.
And that is honestly like the bigger battle nowadays.
Yeah, I think all of this is overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming for, even big brands to handle. And it's very obvious. Like you think all these brands have it, nailed down. So few do. And I think that, well, marketers ruin everything, right? Which is something famously I think Gary Vee said, and I completely agree with, because you're always marketing. You're always looking for that. What's the next thing? How do I exploit or leverage, a better word, the next thing before somebody else consumes it all, and I lose it. And we get to this point because everyone was just like, well, another social media network. Oh, another social media network. I mean, at one point, I remember building websites. It was fucking Foursquare, Yelp. Like you had all these icons on the site. Like you were loading up every social media outlet at the time. And you were telling customers, okay, you got to focus on 7 of these social media accounts and like check the reviews and engage with people. Yeah, I mean, the answer is still yes, do all of it. But the problem is no one can do all of it effectively. And we got to a point where we just started saying, you know what, screw it. Let's just send stuff. Let's just send it out. Let's just send it out to this platform. And I am guilty of this now. I'm using this freaking Opus Clips tool, and I'm just going, send, publish, go to all these platforms, get it done for me because I don't have time, right? So where these brands need to go today, we talked about this on the last show, very pertinent for WordPress product companies or WordPress businesses, is installing the person who's going to, like, if you're the founder and you're just saying, I can't do this marketing thing, I can't do the social thing, I have more important things to do, which you do. You install somebody who is going to represent your brand. And we're moving into a world where that person is going to have to run LinkedIn 24/7. It's not going to be, hey, you're the social guy. We had this discussion about a freaking marketing generalist. You're the social guy. I need you to do all the social accounts, or girl, social guy or girl, doing all these social accounts. Yeah, go ahead, do this, do that, spread it around over here, and then make a blog post, make a podcast, do it. It's not going to happen anymore. You're going to need somebody who is a sniper on those channels that they're really good at. And guess what? You're not going to do them all anymore. You're going to do one, and you're going to maximize that opportunity, and then you're going to go to 2. And then you're going to maximize those opportunities to make sure that you're installing a human who's really good on those social networks and really engaging on those social networks. In other words, it's not just automate my post to go out, automate my tweet to go out. You're still going to do it. I'm still going to do it, the automation part. But you have to find that voice or that face of a person who's going to represent the brand to really win on these channels. Because if you're not, and find the most opportunity for the channel, because they're not going to go to the website by just your automated link anymore. You need somebody to show up on these platforms consistently.
Yeah, it's funny because like things are getting easier in some ways, but because things are getting easier, the bar is getting a lot higher in certain things. Like I'm just trying to internalize this right now. Like the guy I brought up, that Gannon Meyer guy, like his videos, he films like a he's delivering information that is, it's the type of information that you think about. You're like, oh, that makes sense. It's not like crazy. It's informative, right? But it is kind of like edutainment because he's filming in such a. If you see any of his videos, they're like almost mini films. Like he's got multiple camera angles and good lighting and all this sort of stuff. And some of that stuff is not like incredibly difficult to set up, but it does take effort. It's not just like this, plug and chug content, which I feel like I'm guilty of it as well. Just like throwing up as much stuff as you can onto the internet. I think that's good for visibility and good for, getting your face kind of like associated with a given topic or an area or whatever. But yeah, at a certain point, like there's a little bit, I don't know. It's just like like I said, the bar is getting higher for if you want to be the best in an area. It's not just that you need to know stuff. It's also that you need to be like interesting enough, but also the content itself needs to be like attractive enough to like not just get people to stay for the hook, but almost stay for the way that it makes them feel, not just the content. It's a weird world we're living in now, because like people want to be like educated, but they also kind of like want to be entertained in some ways. It's a weird situation.
We talked about this in the last episode. Like, I mean, reaching customers these days, you know, if you go and spin it off and do a whole new business or approach a whole new customer, to me, like traditional media is looking good again. Like freaking lime green postcards with black text saying "Buy my thing" delivered to your doorstep is almost like what has to happen again to reach people, depending on like what the product is and what the demographic is. My watch is telling me my heart rate's going up because I've been yelling and screaming so much. I think it's just. It's just not, to me, I've never played with the algorithm. Like I never did any search engine optimization that was like gaming the algorithm. Well, we've talked about this before, but which means I never benefited and made a lot of money off of it, like a lot of other people in the WordPress space have. But I always looked at it and I don't know, just in the back of my head, if I do this and then something changes, what the hell am I going to do after that? Like I just looked at it like that and said, wait, you're giving, like if I exploit this, I can get this traffic, but surely they're going to fix that. And this is years ago. And I was just like, I don't understand how that's like a viable thing. Do I want to be analyzing this every day? And I was just like, no, I never did and never wanted to. And then, now you see the impact of the algorithm. And then famously, like with Facebook likes, that's when you really learn the lesson of how that's Facebook likes, which is probably well before your time when they rushed Facebook, when Facebook pages came out, people were making money selling Facebook pages courses. Like I've seen this so many damn times. And it was just like, get 1,000 people to like your Facebook page and then you can reach 1,000 people and you don't need email anymore. And everyone was doing it. And Facebook was just sitting there going, yep. Yeah, go ahead. Get it. Everybody. Yep. Keep coming to the pages. Let's go. Come on. Yeah. Get them to 5,000 fans. Get them to 5. And then they go, we got ads. And they turn it on and they shut everybody off at the door and everyone's standing outside. Go, how do I see my page? You got to buy these ads now. And like, what the fuck happened? I mean, that was the easiest lesson for me to go, I don't ever want this. I never want artificial is not the right word. I don't want this kind of traffic. Anyway, I know it's a whole professional thing, so I don't want to insult anyone. Boy, Mark, this is what happens when you've been dying on the floor for the last 5 days, Mark Szymanski. Let's wrap it up. Any updates on the biz you want to talk about? I feel like I've just been screaming at you the whole time.
No, it's been good. I mean, the short level is I'd keep doing these shorts every night. Last night was a good one. Just trying to like understand. I'm going to change the name of my business because I don't want to be seen as
revealing it right now.
I revealed it last night, so yeah, it's Motive 11. I think.
Oh, you did. You did. Well, I mean, you told me. You and I had the conversation, but I didn't know you officially announced it. When did you officially announce it?
I put it in the video. It's it's kind of it was kind of a chill. It's a soft launch.
I got 3 kids. My wife's been working with the last 2 days. What do you want from me?
It's all right. It's all right. You don't watch my content. It's fine. But yeah. So I'm changing the name. I think it's gonna be really good. Actually, some things out of this conversation, I think I can kind of take into that because building websites, I'd be silly to not necessarily offer that. But I do think that the positioning, the name was terrible before. It's Find It Tech. You can't really say it well. You can't spell it well. It feels like IT-ish. It needs retired. It's fine. It's lived its life. But with like Motive 11 or literally anything that's like more abstract, you could position it in a way where it's like, and tell a story around it where it's like, hey, we don't just help you build websites. Like, that's not what we do. And I don't want it to call it like Mark Web Design or some shit. So I think with this, from this conversation, is I could position it as more of like, hey, we build websites, but that's not like the main thing that's going to drive revenue for you. These companies that I'm building this stuff, they don't want websites. They need websites. They feel like they need websites. They want leads. They want more money. They want all of that. So I'm not, this is not innovative, what I'm saying here, but it's, for me, I've tried to get there before. And I think now with more experience and more thought, and ChatGPT, I can get to the place where I could sell and make these offers better, where it's not just like, hey, we're going to build your website and maintain it. That is no longer, I'm staunch in this. That is no longer like the main thing. That could be like an entry point, obviously, like a foot in the door. But these companies we're at the point now where they need help marketing. Like they need something. Now, whether or not they have the budget for it, what that actually materializes in, that's another discussion that we could have. But I do want to lean more into like that conversation, and like that's the value we provide.
Can you just briefly walk us through, if at all, the process of how you narrowed down the name? Like, did you just take to ChatGPT and start saying, hey, give me some ideas, and going back and forth? Like, what did that process look like? Did you do anything extra other than just like working within a single prompt?
I filmed a 2-hour video. So, yeah, it was just me kind of mostly in ChatGPT.
Oh, so you're gonna post it?
Yeah, but I mean, at a high level, like, I knew some parameters, and you'll kind of see in the video, but I knew like I didn't want it to have anything to do with me. I knew that I wanted it to have not anything me personally, because I wanted to have a name that I could potentially sell. Like, I just feel like that's a good branding decision to not like tie it directly to you. I knew I didn't want it to be extremely specific, again, like on that design situation, like, so-and-so design, or, whatever design, because I just wanted to be a little bit more malleable. I don't care that people don't know what it is when they look at the name. I just need them to like not be incredibly confused with the IT situation was. So it's definitely an upgrade. And yeah, mostly heavily ChatGPT, heavily voice to text in ChatGPT. And yeah, I think it was just a lot of conversation back and forth, and kind of refining, because it's obviously not going to give you what you want in, one prompt. So
when are you going to post that video?
Probably next week. Yeah.
Cool, man. I'm not going to give any business updates today. No one is going to want to hear about my woes of running a independent content site that has sponsorship, that gives sponsorship money away and tries to give a voice to people in the WordPress community. And oh, by the way, they might use affiliate links.
Jesus.
It's WPminute.com, the WPminute.com/subscribe. We're going to get a name for this podcast.
Maybe,
You got no ideas. Why don't you take the ChatGPT and figure it out?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
This guy doesn't know what to do with himself today. Thanks for watching MJS.bio.